Hi, everyone. Welcome to our final video lecture for the semester. Congratulations on making it this far. I know it hasn't been easy for any of us, and I just want to thank you all for sticking with me these past few weeks. In this video, I'm going to be talking with you a little bit about how we write about qualitative research. So, I'll walk us through the format for writing about qualitative research and offer some tips and important things to remember when you're writing your reports. Then I'll outline the next steps you should take towards writing this assignment, and I'll end with some announcements about assignment due dates and my availability during exam week. Before I do that, I just want to apologize for mistakenly sending you all that survey about team writing your instruction manuals that was meant for my technical writing class last Friday. I think I caught it before it ignited a wildfire of mass confusion, but I'm sure it still freaked some of you out. A couple of you who responded to the survey were like, yeah, Dr. Kerr, this is the first time I'm hearing about this manual assignment, and I think it's a good idea to just focus on the qualitative research report. Yes, that's a great idea, and that's exactly what we're doing. So again, my sincere apologies for that confusion that I caused, and let's get started about talking about how we can format a qualitative research report. So qualitative research is used by disciplines in the social sciences like sociology and anthropology, and it's all about the why. It's exploratory and not about numbers, instead focusing on reasons, motivations, behaviors, and opinions. It's best at helping researchers gain insight and delve deep into a particular problem. The real value of qualitative research is in its ability to give you a human perspective on a research question. Unlike quantitative research, this approach will help researchers understand some of the more intangible factors, things like behaviors, habits, and past experiences, whose effects may not always be readily apparent when you're conducting quantitative research. So when we write about this kind of social science research, we follow a very particular format known as the IMRAD format. That stands for Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion, Conclusion. Your mini qualitative research report will follow this format. This kind of writing is likely new for you. It's certainly different from any of the other kinds of writing we've been doing for this class, but many students actually find this kind of writing to be less intimidating and more straightforward because of the specific format that it follows. I actually enjoy this kind of writing myself because I like how I get to work in distinct sections that each have a clear and specific purpose. Once you know what each section is supposed to do for your reader, it makes it easier to figure out what you need to write. So let's take a look at what each of these sections does and what we should write in it for our reports. So the first section in a qualitative research report is the introduction. Its purpose is to provide your readers with some preliminary information that helps them understand the context and purpose of your report. This is where you'll offer some background information and context about the current coronavirus pandemic, like what's happening, who is it affecting, why is it such a big deal? You'll also want to include some information about the NYT Learning Network's weekly student opinion questions. What's their connection to the pandemic? What are their goals for participating students? And finally, you'll want to provide information about the student question that you chose from our list, which is your research question for this report, and why you chose it. Like, what drew you to it? Why do you think it's an important question? And you'll also include a statement about what your analysis of your student responses will help your readers better understand. This will function as your thesis statement for your report, and it's what will help your readers get a sense of what you're going to be using your analysis to show. It'll be like a window into your findings. All of this preliminary information that you provide in your introduction works to set the stage for your report and let your readers know what you're going to be doing and why it's important. It's important to keep in mind that when you're writing your introduction, you want to avoid assuming that your audience knows about this assignment, knows what you're doing for it, knows your topic. This can lead to not including enough information to help them understand the context and purpose of your report. The next section of your report is the method section, and it's where you describe the steps that you took to collect and analyze your data. One of the most important steps in qualitative research is what we do to collect and analyze our data. Qualitative research typically builds off itself, meaning that past studies of a topic will generate new ideas for researchers, which then lead to more studies in an effort to continue generating knowledge about people's perceptions, beliefs, and experiences about things. So it helps researchers who want to investigate something to know what people did before them and how they did it. That way, they can try to replicate what was done before or make changes to it. When we write about qualitative research, we describe the steps we took to collect and analyze our data to be transparent with our readers and to ensure reliability and trustworthiness in our results. So in your methods section, you'll outline your research process for your readers. You'll work to answer the who, when, and hows of your research process. You'll attend to three main things: your participants, your procedures, and your data analysis. For your participants, you want to answer questions like who participated in the student opinion question that you picked? What was the question? When was the question originally published? And as of the date you started writing this report, how many total students have responded to the comments section? For your procedures, you want to discuss how you selected your 15 to 20 relevant, interesting, and substantial responses that answer the main research question. What was your decision process like? How did you choose what to use versus what not to use? And for your data analysis, you'll want to describe how you coded the 15 to 20 responses you selected in order to organize them into categories and themes. What was the process that you engaged in to make sense of the responses that you picked? And when you write about your methods, you want to avoid talking about what you found in this section. You want to save that for the results section, which comes next. The third section of your mini qualitative research report is the results section, and it's where you report what you found as a result of your analysis of the 15 to 20 student responses that you picked. You want to make sure that you avoid adding personal opinions and interpretations or theoretical explanations to this section. Instead, think of it as an objective and impartial reporting of what you found to be the most important as a result of your analysis. The major themes, patterns that you discovered that are helping you provide possible answers to your research question or the main student opinion question. And you'll organize this section according to the main themes or patterns that emerged from your data analysis. Then you'll systematically present your results according to these categories using headings for each section. You'll want to pull directly from the responses that you analyze to back up your findings. You'll do this by providing specific examples, quotations, and concerns from the students to serve as your evidence for your findings. So let's take a look at how you can use quotations when you're writing your results. Here's an example from my own research. Like you all, I've picked a student opinion question to analyze. My question is, should schools change how they grade students during a pandemic? One of the major things I discovered was that students think schools absolutely should change the way they grade because things are no longer the same as they were before the pandemic. And here's how I've started writing my results. This is what I wrote. The majority of student responses were overwhelmingly in favor of changing the way schools grade during a pandemic. Out of the 20 responses that I selected for my analysis, 13 students voiced a need for some kind of grade change. One recurring reason for this opinion hinged on the students' beliefs that they are no longer learning or living under normal circumstances. The pandemic forced their schools to rapidly shift to an online platform over a matter of days in an effort to flatten the curve and stop the spread of the coronavirus. In their responses, students told stories of having no previous experience with online learning, or even if they had taken an online class before, they had never had all of their face-to-face classes suddenly turned into online ones in the middle of the school year or semester, and especially not during a global pandemic. As a result of this radical disruption to the normal way of doing school, many students believed it would be unfair and unrealistic for schools to continue to evaluate them by pre-pandemic grading standards. One student, Henry Leonard from Hoggard High School in Wilmington, North Carolina, wrote that it's not a matter of if schools, should change the grades, but how, because we shouldn't have the normal system. Pretty much everything has been changed to online, and in this volatile environment, everyone can't be expected to perform school to the standard they did before. Let's take a closer look at my writing. You'll see how I'm framing things according to that one major trend in my data and talking about it in terms of what students believe and not what I believe. I used numbers to convey how many students from my responses want grades to change. I included the name and high school of the student I quoted from, and you should try to do this too if you have this information. It helps add specificity and credibility to your findings. I also talked about everything in the past tense. I did this because I've already collected my data, and what these students said has happened in the past. So we use past tense because everything has already happened. Most importantly, notice how I refrained from adding any personal opinions, like whether I think he's right and why I think he's right. I also refrained from offering any kinds of theories to account for the larger external factors that might be working behind the scenes to shape his response. All I want to do in this section is report what I've found, the main patterns and themes in my students' responses, and I save my own interpretations and theories for the fourth section of my report, the discussion and reflection section. The discussion and reflection section is where you finally present your own interpretation of your results and your reflection about how your own responses compare to those results. You're also working to establish the broader significance of your findings. So in this section, you work to discuss, based upon your findings, the conclusions that you can make about the responses that your students that you have analyzed. What conclusions can you make about high school students' experiences, perceptions, and beliefs in regard to the student opinion question you picked? What are your own answers to the questions posed in the student opinion topic? How do your responses compare to the responses of the high school students you analyzed? And why do you think that students, including yourself, are saying what they're saying? What are your theories about some of the larger contextual factors, like the social, cultural, political, religious, intellectual, technological, economic, and environmental factors that might be influencing the themes and patterns of similarity you identified in your results? You also want to include your thoughts about how what you found has or hasn't helped you answer your main research question. When you're writing about your discussion and reflection, you want to avoid overgeneralizing and overstating the significance of your results. You only analyzed 15 to 20 responses, so your results are not representative of all students everywhere. You can't use them to prove anything. You should speak in possibilities instead of absolutes, like saying things like, my results suggest, my results demonstrate, and avoid saying, my results prove, because your results don't definitively prove anything. They only suggest things. If you want, in your discussion and reflection section, you could address the limitations of your analysis outright by acknowledging how you only looked at a few responses. Being open and transparent about your analysis is something that many qualitative researchers insist on doing when they write their own reports. You also want to avoid bringing in any new results to your discussion. That will only confuse readers and make them wonder why you didn't talk about these new results in your results section. And finally, you want to avoid over-interpreting your results. Don't read more into the findings than can be supported by the evidence you've gathered. Remember that the data is the data, and it's nothing more, nothing less. You can only work with what you have and only show what you have. So now that we've gone through the IMRAD format that we're using to write our reports, let's review a few important tips that I mentioned while I was talking about the IMRAD format that you can keep in mind when you're writing your own reports. The first tip is to use a style appropriate to the social sciences. That's clear, precise, accurate, and concise language. This style of writing is very direct and straightforward. You come right out and say what you did and found, instead of leaving things up to the reader to figure out. A major expectation in this genre of writing is that you as a writer will clearly state what you're going to do and what you found. Your readers don't want to have to guess. If you feel like you're being too direct and simply telling people what you did or found, that's okay. It means that you're doing it right. The second thing that you want to do is avoid speaking in absolutes. Don't say, my results prove. Instead, say, my results suggest or indicate or reveal. The third thing that you want to do is use the past tense when referring to your results. You've already collected your data, so you talk about it as though it has already happened. The fourth thing that you want to do is refrain from adding personal opinions, interpretations, or theoretical explanations to your results. Save that for your discussion and reflection. And if possible, refer by name to the students you quote from in your results. This will help add specificity to your writing. It will also attach a name to the student whose voice you're using in your report, and that will enhance the credibility of your analysis. So now that we've reviewed some tips for writing about qualitative research, let's take a look into the next steps you'll take towards writing your mini qualitative research reports. First, you want to read the short piece on writing about qualitative research and the sample student qualitative research paper that are coming up next in this module. The sample paper offers great examples for writing your methods and results section. Then, download and save the mini qualitative research report template that I created for you in a Word file or a Google Doc. And you'll see more information about this template in one of the pages that comes next in this module. After you download and save the template, start filling in the sections with your own information. And finally, complete the Week 16 discussion forum. It's geared towards getting you started on your results section, and you'll have an opportunity to get feedback on your writing from your peers. Before I sign off, I just want to highlight a few announcements for us. So first, these are just some dates that we want to remember for things that are coming up. Our final mini qualitative research report is due to Canvas by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, May 3rd. If you're planning on revising your secondary source research paper or your historical visual analysis paper, those revisions are also due to Canvas by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, May 3rd. And if you haven't gotten your historical visual analysis back yet, you will get it soon. So keep an eye out for that. Another thing is makeups for the weekly discussion forums are also due to Canvas by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, May 3rd. Basically everything that we're doing for the rest of the semester is due on Sunday, May 3rd by 11:59 p.m. Um, Remember, I just want to kind of emphasize that these discussion forums took the place of our attendance and in-class writing assignments, and they're 20% of your grade now. So please, please, please go back and do them if you haven't, or get in contact with me ASAP if you don't think you're going to be able to complete them. Right? They're really an easy way to make points and boost your grade. Another thing is I'm going to be holding extended office hours during exam week. So on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'll be in my Zoom office hours from 11 to 2. But then I'll also be available to meet at other times on any day of the week because, I don't have any other commitments. And, who am I kidding? This is my life now. So I have a lot of openness in my schedule. Just let me know if you'd want to meet with me to talk about any questions or concerns that you have about your papers, revising, or anything really. I am here to help you. And this brings me to the end of my video lecture. So to wrap up, I know that we're all feeling like the horse in this meme right now. I came across it when this pandemic was getting real in the US and schools were scrambling to make plans for how to shift everything online. And even though it focuses on teaching in 2020, it absolutely applies to learning in 2020. We're all stick-footing it now, people, but we've just got a little further to go. And that's all I've got for this last video lecture, folks. Thanks for watching, and thanks for sticking with me these past few weeks. I know it hasn't been easy, but we're almost there. Keep stick-footing it with me to the end. I promise I will get us across the finish line together.